Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here for another podcast. Today we have Amy Lyons, who is a talented singer songwriter based in Sydney, Australia. Growing up in a musical family, she developed a deep passion for music from an early age. And over the past 15 years, Amy has captivated audiences across Sydney, performing at pubs, clubs, sporting events, community gatherings, local festivals, and weddings. Among her career highlights, Amy had the honor of performing, listen to this, performing the Australian national anthem for the Sydney Blue Thoughts, an event that was streamed internationally. Wow, that's something.
It was.
She, Amy also gained recognition by winning the first ever TikTok Us slash NZ Talent Time Competition 2021. Wow. Look at that. So Amy's music blends pure vocals with cinematic storytelling, inviting listeners into her world through catchy synth-pop melodies and introspective ballads. Her debut EP, Out of the Ashes, that she released in 2021, showcases her artistry and emotional depth, and it'll be linked down below in the show notes and everything, all her music. Um, and also that recently she has expanded her creative horizons by collaborating with producers worldwide on electronic dance originals and covers. Welcome, Amy, to the show. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks, Chris, for having me on. I'm
You're
excited.
welcome. Amy Lyons, everyone. Amy, what inspired you to pursue a career in music?
Well, yeah, growing up in a musical family, it was just something that was always around me. So it just felt natural to do something in my life with music. So when I was younger, I was doing singing, acting, and dancing lessons as a kid. And then that just never went away. That passion that I always had never went away. I had a few years where I was just sort of finding myself in, I guess, the workforce after finishing high school and um, fell out of that a little bit and then found myself back into it and just haven't stopped since.
Did you have a good relationship with your parents and your siblings? Have you had any or people and did they encourage you to get into music? And they were like, no, you're going to be like your mother who's a nurse, or you're going to be like your father who's a doctor. I've heard that just recently, actually.
Oh wow, yeah. Well, mum and dad are musicians. So my mum sings and plays the piano, and my
Nice.
dad's a guitarist and he produces and he's an engineer. So my
Wow.
sister sings. So yeah, we're all just all very musical.
That's
Yeah,
awesome, Amy. I'm really happy to hear that.
yeah.
I heard from one mezzo soprano, and she said that if she had gone the way of her father, it would have been she would have been a vet. But when she
Right.
got into the prestigious music hall university, she went into music. And I said, "Why don't you just be a singing vet?"
It'd be interesting. It'd be a good TikTok channel, I think, to have
Now
that.
you imagine.
Yeah.
Um, so, how did growing up in a musical family shape your artistry?
I think it just gave me the confidence to be able to pursue that and not have any worries about mum and dad, I guess, not supporting me. So, because they understand what that's like to have that passion, they know that it's something that you can't really just die down and not deal with. You know, you've always got it. You always have to do something with it. So, I think growing up in a musical family, it just helped me just keep going.
Have you ever thought of collaborating with them or any one member of your family?
We actually, my dad and I co-wrote a song together. He likes to write gospel music. That's his passion to write gospel music. So co-wrote a song there, and he had this idea actually during COVID to um, make a song about. I can't remember what the song was called now. It's "Free Me." The song's called "Free Me." Just like a little funny parody about that, just to have a bit of fun and a bit of light. And then we did a little Christmas carol during that first year. I think it was the end of 2020. We put like a little song and a video together. My sister, my mum, dad, and I. Yeah, so it was nice to have an opportunity to do something together because other than that, we haven't. We never did.
Yeah, they say songwriting process or anything you do is like 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. Did you find
Yeah,
it that way?
yeah, definitely. I think it's you've got to have influences around you. You know, it can't all just be yourself pursuing something. It's got to be, whether a lot of musicians don't have that support from family and friends, but the musician community is also that support. So online with Instagram and TikTok, you're always going to find like-minded people. So you're always going to have that inspiration wherever you go.
Did you push, push, push until it worked, or were there times where you just like you wanted to give up?
There's a bit of both. I mean, life gets in the way. I'm a mother. You know, I had a few years where my son, came first. But actually, it's funny because after he was born, I feel like that's when my career sort of took off a little bit more. I've been doing more with singing since then. I've been working with many different producers and many different other musicians since 2022. So, life does get in the way, but I think sometimes it also provides other opportunities that you just wouldn't expect.
I'd like to ask you about your songwriting process. Now, the collaboration you did with Julian Ransom, Jaker, on the song "Only
Mhm.
Half the World," or your single "Not Enough" with Daniel Belomo and Slap Maj. I'm going to ask you what the atmosphere was like working with Daniel, but I want to ask you about you working with Julian in the song "Only Half the World." How did you put that together?
Well, he reached out to me because we had done an online music marketing course together. And then through that, there was a Facebook group. So anyone who was doing the course could connect. So we connected that way. And he reached out to me to co write a song and to sing it together. So that was great. He's in obviously the UK. I'm here in Australia. Time differences are completely different, very, very far away. But we organised a time to meet online face to face, just like this, and just work out what we wanted the song to be like. And he's very talented. He sent me the keys that he had laid down the track, the demo, and then we just went from there.
How about the first lyric? Like, how did you put the first lyric down? Because that's a great song.
Yeah, we just wanted it to be a love song. So I think he just wanted to have a song that was about needing someone, not being able to have them, and yeah, just running with those lyrics. They just sort of came out. I think he wrote majority of the starting lyrics, and then I've added in a little bit of my part after that because I think he had quite a clear direction of where he wanted to go. So that does help when someone sort of has the clearer picture, and then you just sort of merge your ideas, and it unfolds pretty easily.
Was there a time when you had a struggle with it? Like, only half the world with the lyrics and the wonderful music. Like, there must have been a time when it was like, okay, I don't want this, or I want this, or I want this. Did you fight over it? Was it just smooth sailing?
It was smooth sailing, but I think we did have a bit of a break in between. So we had started the project, and then it could have even been maybe 6 months down the track where we still hadn't completed it. And then we came back to it and then released it. Yeah.
Wow. I like the
Yeah.
song Not Enough that you collaborated with Daniel Belomo and Slapmash. What was the atmosphere like when working with Daniel? Like, how did you put Not Enough together?
Yeah, so Daniel and I have worked together on a few songs actually. So this was the second song that we've done together. So he reached out to me as well. He's based in Spain. So he wanted to, well, he sent me the demo of the track. So a lot of the time, the producers will send me the demo of the track with no lyrics over it, just what the music sounds like. And I'll use that as inspiration to write. But a lot of the time, I'll ask the producers if they had an idea of what they wanted the song to be about on the actual track. And we actually connected because we realized that we had both been in long distance relationships. So the song is actually about that, both of our experiences, where I've written all the lyrics. He's still had an input in, the structure of the song and the emotion of the song. So even though he didn't co-write the actual lyrics with me, it was great to connect on that sort of level. So I feel like the song has extra meaning because both the music written and the lyrics written have the same experience where it's come from.
What was the atmosphere like around Slapmash? I think you pronounce it.
That's the record label that it's released with. So
Okay.
Daniel and I worked on that together, and then he reached out to an independent label called Magic Records. Actually, quite a big one. So it was great to have it released with them. And then they just sort of pop their name on the track, so it just gets a bigger audience.
It must have sort of a feeling of satisfaction when you get the song out there, huh?
Yeah, definitely. It's nice. It's good to finish a project. It feels complete. There's a few projects where I'll send the vocals, and then I don't hear about the song for a long time. Whether the producers had other things come up, but it's always good to have a song released out there, and you can listen to it on Spotify and share it with your friends and family. It's always nice.
Did you know that Only Half the World was going to be as successful as it was?
I think I it's such a beautiful piece, and the producer that did the like the vocal producing and the producing is so talented as well. So I think I knew that it was always going to sound fantastic, and Julian's always had a really good backing behind him, a really good strong fan base. So I think it was
Mhm.
always something that I was confident that it would be successful.
Yeah. So, what themes did you explore in your debut EP, Out of the Ashes, in 2021?
Well, it comes from me growing up, I guess, not having the best self worth and the best self confidence, and just stepping into that. I think everyone does go through that, especially as an artist. You're still finding yourself and who you are. So, the actual main title song, Out of the Ashes, is pretty much based on that. Me finding who I am and being finally feeling confident in myself. And the other songs on the track are another one about a long distance relationship, another one about a poor relationship, and then the third track, Never Could, is actually a friend's experience that she's had with a relationships. So that's what you were saying before with all the different inspirations. You know, you find them in others' experiences as well, because I think sometimes as artists, we take on other people's feelings and thoughts empathetically and use that as well.
So, you really believe the song has to have emotion, it has feeling to it. Can you share any behind the scenes stories from recording Out of the Ashes in 2021?
Yeah, I guess I was in the studio for this one. I worked with it's a studio based about 20 minutes away from my house, so it's very convenient to get there. Whereas now I'm working basically at home, in my own little setup studio. So it was nice. I think it's a different experience when you can actually go to a studio, sit down with the producer, sit down with the engineer, and work together, and really get a clear idea of what you want the sound to be like. Getting all those reference tracks. Whereas with the songs that I'm doing now, it's very much just being sent it over and then top lining over the top. So the behind the scenes is definitely there's a lot more that goes into writing an EP like that and doing it face to face rather than all online for sure.
And you have another album coming out soon? You working on new music for that?
Yeah, working on new music. I'm not planning an album or an EP as of yet, but I've got lots of more collabs coming out. I actually do need to record 3 new songs at the moment, procrastinating a little bit on those, but I'll get around to it. It's easy to burn out, I think, when you've got so much going on. So I just try and take my time with getting all of the songs done.
Of course. Beautiful
Yeah,
what you have so far. Only Half the World, and it's great. It's great music. Like, I mean, I like the song Not Enough, and I like the song Only Half the World because you do it with Julian, so that's pretty good.
yeah.
What was the experience like performing the Australian national anthem for the Sydney Blue Sox?
I was very nervous. It was a great experience. So I did it a few times. So they asked me back a few times, which was amazing. But one of the games was for the Doosan Bears in Korea. So that was the one that was
Mm.
streamed online internationally, and there was a huge crowd. So I was very, very nervous. It's very different performing live than performing in a studio. But I do prefer performing live, to be very honest. You just get that feedback and that atmosphere. That's what I sort of crave as a singer. But it was great. I would love to do something like that again, even for a bigger crowd.
Do you feel nervous when you sing in front of big crowds like that?
Yeah, definitely. Just a lot of pressure. I think it depends what the scenario is. If it's just me performing, a 3 hour gig or something with a partner at a pub or a club, just really low key. You're in the background, people are enjoying their dinner. It's not nerve wracking, but when it's just you, you're standing there on that baseball field and you're singing out to the crowd and complete silence. It's just you. It's definitely nerve wracking.
Oh, definitely. I remember when I first started singing in front of a church group. Uh, I'm like, I learned a song. 2 weeks, I've learned it. I
Yeah.
knew the first stanza, the lyrics, chorus, everything. Finally, got the microphone in my hand. Start singing, and I'm like, "Oh shoot, what was the second verse?" So I just switched the second verse with the first verse. So I sang the first verse again,
Yep. I've done that
and then
too plenty of
and
times.
then I and instead of when people came up to me and said that was great, great, and I had nothing but good raves. Instead of going, yeah, thank you so much, and walk away, I went, yeah, but I forgot the second verse, and put the first verse in there, and I screwed up here. So I'm like, Chris,
Yep.
shut up.
Yeah. If no one else noticed, you don't have to tell them. But
I
I think
know.
it's just
And I'm thinking, yeah,
the
nobody
instinct.
noticed. It probably it's not like some guys can come up and said, I know the song. You
Yep.
missed the second verse. And I know
Yep.
what that one is. You're not gonna get that. And it was at a
It's that
church, so I'm
internal
just like,
shame. Yeah.
yeah, no shame, I know. Um, Amy, how did winning the TikTok New Zealand Australia New Zealand talent time competition impact your career?
It gave me a lot of confidence, I would say. It was something that I just thought, okay, it popped up on my notifications that it was happening. And I just thought, okay, sure, I will post a video of me singing and audition for it. And I think that particular video got 18,000 views, which for me back then, I wasn't getting those sort of views. And then when I got the email that I had been put into the actual competition with, 8 or so other people, that was a huge confidence boost for me. It was very unexpected. And then when I won, I have to be honest, I had imposter syndrome. I thought I don't deserve to win. There was, I would say, three other people that were way better than me. I don't know why I won. So I guess that had to sink in a little bit. That just because they're really talented as well doesn't mean I'm not, and I'm not worthy of winning that as well. So I think once that had set in, it was a confidence boost. And I just sort of used that and kept going.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
quite an inspiration. Yeah,
yeah.
amazing. So, what are your biggest musical influences? Sorry, who are your biggest musical influences?
I'm a huge Lady Gaga fan, always have been. And I love how she can change from genre to genre and it still feels like her. It still feels authentic to her brand. So that's something that I've really always been inspired by. I've gone from just pop, I've gone to adult contemporary, I've gone to EDM now. So they're three different, very different genres and very different styles of writing. So I think that's a huge influence for me is to know that you can't just put yourself in one little box and stick to it. You can always branch out, have different influences, and just, I guess, create a more depth and more meaning to your music.
Would you love to perform at Sydney Opera House?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I think that's be a huge achievement. I think the imposter syndrome for that would be unbearable.
I can imagine that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lady Gaga. That's interesting that she would be your biggest musical influences. Yeah, she's got that song "Abracadabra," and there's a dance out of it too.
Yes. Yeah, very popular at the moment.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, how do you balance live performances with studio recordings?
Well, the live performances, the last one I had was about a month ago. I just had a really quick gig for like a city council had a community festival where they had a new park opening. So they had some musicians come in throughout the day and just sort of come and go. So that was my last live performance. So that was a Saturday. A lot of the time, I'll do my studio recordings at nighttime once I put my son to bed, and I've just got that time to switch off because I know he's not going to wake up crying and need me like at a nap time or something. So I'm very, I guess, structured with when I can do those sort of recordings. Has to be at a particular time of the day, unless it is going out to a studio somewhere and planning for that. But there's always got to be planning. I can't just drop everything and go, unfortunately, anymore.
Yeah. Uh, what's your favorite software to work with, or what's your favorite? What are your favorite recording things to work with?
I use Cubase. It's a
Mhm.
very old Cubase software.
Yeah.
It's basically just for me to put vocals down and to have a few layers in there. And I do send the vocals over to the producers fairly raw. I don't really even put reverb or tune them myself because I think it's very unique and individual to each producer how they want the vocals to sound. So I just give it to them as basic as I can. So the Cubase software that I've got is pretty much what I need. Haven't needed anything else more in depth so far.
Who would you like to collaborate with if you could?
Oh, there's a few people that I've got on Instagram that I'm a little bit shy to reach out to. Just some big producers and DJs, international. Um, but I think that's more of the reason is that they work with people who are signed by management labels. So for myself, who's just self independent and manages myself. I'm just a bit hesitant to reach out for that reason. And I guess that
Mm.
rejection is always in the back of my mind, but you never know until you try.
What has been your most memorable performance to date?
Um, I would definitely say the Do Song Bears performance for the Australian national anthem. That's definitely my most memorable one. It was the largest crowd that I've had. I think there was 5,000 people there. So for a live performance, for me, that's definitely the biggest one that I've had. Usually, the live performances are maybe a couple of hundred people coming and going as they're having their lunch at the local club. With families. But I do love that as well because I love when the families come up and the little kids are dancing in front and they're just having a good time. It's nice to actually physically see what your music can do for people. Just making their day by just performing because music is everyone loves music. It's touching in some ways.
How do you approach collaborations with producers from different parts of the world?
Yeah, it's I mean, everyone works differently. So it's just finding out how that particular producer works. Sometimes they just want to be strictly business. They'll send you a track. I need your vocals by this date. I need them like this. You send them back. That's it. Transaction over. But others want to, I guess, build a bit of a friendship and a bit of a, I guess, ongoing partnership where you can support each other through other tracks that you've got. And then some are still interested in working on other songs down the line as well. Like with Daniel, we've worked on a few songs together. I think we're up to song number 4 or 5 even working together. So it just depends how they work because some producers are they're very busy. They have a lot of projects going on at once. So yeah, just finding out what they need, and I guess establishing that pretty first up, and not waiting to the end to ask those sort of questions because that's very important to know at the start.
What do you think? I'm going to be really up close and personal here. What do you think of artificial intelligence in music? Is this something that you would use?
I think artificial intelligence in music is beneficial in some ways. I know that it's really helpful in taking, because I have my recordings at home, it's not completely soundproof. I do a lot to make the vocals soundproof, but the AI can actually take a lot of that background noise out. which is really beneficial, and it does sound more like a studio professional recording. So I think in terms of that, it's really good. In terms of creating vocals out of nothing, out of a computer, is kind of a strange thought. But some producers would like that because then they can manipulate the vocals to be exactly how they want it. So it does depend.
I don't know if you remember the days. Natalie Cole, whose father was Nat King Cole,
Yeah.
he did Unforgettable, where she did like a duet with him, and there was so much controversy and up in arms and so you can't do that, whatever. So
Yeah.
it's sort of like the early form of AI, but not really. But so it's sort of like if Daniel or any of those others said to you, "Okay, Amy, I want to have you do a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody. It'll be you and Freddie Mercury. We're going to use AI for that." What
Yep.
would be your response?
I think I would try it. It sounds actually quite like a fun project. If someone wants to reach out to me to do that, I'm willing to give it a go. But yeah, I mean, it does depend. I think if it aids in the song rather than just being the only element in the song, I think it's definitely worth looking into and worth using.
But there's a lot of musicians that don't like it because it's isn't taking away from real people and real talent.
Definitely. Even the last few songs that I've done, the producers, I don't know whether they've used AI or if it's just sort of like a pitch bend type of thing that they've got on their software. But they've manipulated the vocals so that my voice actually sounds similar to the style of the original artist. So I've just done a track, New Rules, Dua Lipa. And they sent me back the song to listen to when it was, the first demo came out. I was like, this does not sound like me at all. Like, this is completely different because they wanted it to sound like Dua Lipa for more credibility when it was released. So that is something that did take me by surprise, that they can do that because I didn't realize that that was a possibility rather than just tuning it to sound a little bit more, I don't know, robotic and perfect. It was just sounded completely different, like somebody else. So it is very strange, and I don't know where it's going to lead in the next 5-10 years, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like they used AI for that, as Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney called the last Beatles song called "Now and Then." They used AI to extract John Lennon's vocals from the piano and George Harrison's guitar, and they put it all together. And they literally said to themselves, "This is the last Beatles song, Now and Then." It sounds
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
So AI can be used for a lot of things. I use AI
yeah.
quite a lot to like take an old photo and turn it into a nice photo so it looks like something that was done yesterday when it was done 56 years ago.
It's
You know?
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it can definitely go down a weird path.
Yep. I don't know if I had the ability to create music with an AI and I just tested the waters and worked around it and used lyrics and it sounded pretty good.
Mm,
I wouldn't release it. I'd say, okay, I made this song from AI. I would literally get a band. I'd get each band to learn their how to and play the have the band play
yeah,
the song,
yep.
and I would sing it and then record it. Then people say, "Is it your song?" I say, yes, it is because we did it from scratch. Really, I
That's
used like what have you come up with a fantastic song? Like yeah. So, what challenges have you faced as an independent artist?
definitely burning out is definitely a big one. I think when you are the manager of yourself, you write your own music, you promote your own music, it's a lot. And then I think sometimes if a song doesn't do as well as you were hoping, it's demotivating. So there are a lot of challenges along the way as a self independent artist. But it's just working out what, every time that you release a song, you get a little bit better and you get a little bit more knowledge of what works and what doesn't. So, I mean, I've done music marketing courses, I've done my own sort of things as well to learn how to do that better to prevent that sort of challenge in the future. But there are new challenges, especially when you're working with other people. You I've been lucky. I don't think I've really had any instance where I've had conflict with another producer or artist over what the track's going to be like. But I know a lot of people out there do. I guess if you have a really clear vision. So in terms of challenges, I think that's been my biggest challenge is just the burnout and not working myself too hard and giving myself a break when I need it. It's important.
Yeah. How do you connect with your audience through your music?
It's mostly all. Do you mean social media wise, physically connecting, or do you mean just, I guess, the content of the music?
Um, yeah. How do you connect, like social media maybe, or through doing performances and people come up to you and say, "Hey, I love that. I love that song, this and that." Either
Yeah,
way.
I haven't had a lot of opportunity to perform my own music live. Unfortunately, when I have a booked gig or a booked performance, it's a cover. So it would be great to perform my own music live and have that happen and have an audience for it. I did think about it when I released my EP, but unfortunately, it was still peak COVID and performances weren't possible. But it is still something that I would love to do further down the track. I've got a few more originals now as well, not just the EDM covers that I've got. But social media, definitely, it's amazing when you can post your track out there and then you can see people using it in their TikTok videos. I did a collaboration with another producer called Sorry Mama, and it was um, the hook for cleaning out my closet for Eminem. So it was just that and taken into an EDM, and it kind of blew up a little bit on TikTok, not massively, but people were using it in their videos. So that was pretty cool to connect with people from all around the world using a song that I had put my vocals on. It's just amazing that I'm in Australia and then there's people from all over the globe listening to my songs. It's a bit surreal sometimes when you actually sit down and think about it. That if you've got over 1 million listeners
Mhm.
on a particular song, you think 1 million people in the world. That's pretty incredible.
How do you deal with all the trolls on social media and all the, like, I got to delete that type of people?
I really have only witnessed some trolls when I've posted things about being a parent or being a mother. Unfortunately, the the parenting community or the mothers community is not always the most supportive. With music, I haven't had that happen to me, which is very fortunate. It's been met with a lot of support, and I think other musicians understand. So I think they're more supportive rather than tearing people down. So I've been lucky in that respect.
Yeah. So, how do you stay inspired and motivated in your creative journey?
It's just something that I always have. It's a passion. If I don't work on music for a little while, I feel it emotionally. It kind of feels like something's missing. It's not just a hobby for me, it's something that I need to do. So just always working on music feels that for me, feels that yeah, just it's always there. It's hard to describe, but I think when a lot of people have different passions, but when you have a passion for music, it is easy to keep going with it because you can just sit down and write something just for yourself, and it feels that need. You don't have to release it, but it's just something that if you get the inspiration and you go with it for what it is, it's definitely something that you can keep going with.
Yeah. What do you hope listeners take away from your music?
I think just to have fun. At the moment, it's the EDM vibe that I've got going. So I just want them to enjoy the music, maybe forget about their problems of the week and just, put on some music and relax. I love listening to music in the car, or if I'm working, I've got my AirPods in and I'm listening away. It's just a good mood booster. So I think if I can do that for other people, that other musicians do for me, then I think that's big success for me.
Do you have a go-to song?
Or I mean, obviously Lady Gaga at the moment. Anything of hers that I'll listen to, but I have obviously a few favorites of hers. My all-time favorite song of hers is Monster, and it's one of her earlier ones. But I do love Abracadabra. It's a good one.
Yeah. How do you see your sound evolving in the future?
I think at the moment I do like where it's going with the EDM, but I think I can see myself moving back towards the more adult contemporary. That's where I like to write. I like to have more of the emotion and meaning behind the lyrics. So it would be good to eventually go back into that genre again and not just write party songs and mood boosting songs, but songs that mean something. So I would like to do that again eventually.
Yeah. Are there any upcoming projects or collaborations you're excited about?
Yeah, always. I've got a few at the moment, so that I've sent vocals to the producers, and they're still working on them. And the few songs at the moment that I still need to record. But I've just sent some vocals over with Daniel, actually, a Nelly Furtado song, "All Good Things."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I really like that track. It's something nostalgic for me to have music like that. And instead of it being a really upbeat, sort of techno song, it's more relaxed and it's produced really beautifully. So I'm really excited for that one.
Wow. Nelly Furtado. She's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
some really good music out there.
Yeah, she does. I've always been a fan. So it was exciting to work on one of her tracks.
That's great.
Yeah.
If you could perform anywhere in the world, and I know I'm not going to mention it, if you could perform anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
It would have to be somewhere in Sydney. I think just performing in your hometown, it would be amazing. I've always seen myself performing on maybe like a big festival stage where we've got, there's one in Sydney that's every New Year's Day. It's called Field Day. And I've been a few times, and there's a good mix of different artists, different genres. I think originally the festival did start out as just EDM, and there was a few years where they had indie artists as well. So I went when it was a little bit more mixed, and I loved that. But I think they've gone back now to just EDM. But I think that would be an amazing one for me. It's in the Domain at Sydney, which is where we have the big carols. They televise the big carols every Christmas. It's just a huge sort of park area in the middle of the city. You've got the big city skyline all around the park. So for me, that would be amazing just to be in my hometown, looking out into that big crowd and having the Sydney skyline.
So, if you were to decide to perform, even at Sydney, maybe, um, do you have any thought of how you would want to be paid and how much, or contracts and everything that record producers tell you what goes on in that?
It's a tricky one because I guess you don't know how much a performance like that would be worth until you've got that opportunity. At the moment, if I'm writing vocals with producers, we split royalties. You get the record label obviously get about 50%, and then the
Hmm.
artist will split the rest of the 50%. So I might get 25%.
Wow.
Yep. So in terms of actually performing live, I don't know what that looks like. I've heard that it's not much though. Like the royalties are even smaller when you are with a big label. It's unfortunate.
Wow.
Mm.
It's almost like you can't make money off music anymore.
It does seem that way. Yeah. That's why a lot of musicians, they have their own music that they release, but it is the gigs that you book at those pubs and those clubs because the hourly rate's great. I think for a 3 hour gig as a solo artist, you can get $300, sometimes more than that. So it really just depends. A lot of people work 5 days a week doing that, as well as self releasing.
You wish you were back in the 70s or 80s or even back in the 50s and 90s where there was no like Spotify or USB stick or MP3. It was all just vinyl albums. Like you could go
Yeah,
and buy the latest single on a 45. And these artists back in the 80s even they would sell 1.5 to 2 million copies of their 45, and
yeah,
they get like 2 cents for each one they sell. And 2 cents,
yep,
that's still a lot of money.
yeah.
Two
That's right.
cents times 3 million, that's still a lot of money there.
A lot. I think now the Spotify is 0.07 cents per stream, and then I'm getting 25% of even that. So yeah,
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yep.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to break into the music industry?
I think don't be afraid to try, I guess, not anything, but just take on any opportunity that you can. You never know where it will lead. If you say yes to a project, you never know where that's going to lead. I've said yes to a project that I was a little bit hesitant about, and then it's gone to get over 1 million views, 1 million streams and things like that. The TikTok competition, I did not think that I would win that. So I think just being open to any opportunities that come your way. You never know where that's going to lead you down in the industry.
Thank you so much for the interview. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank
Um,
you.
you embody the spirit of musical artistry. You weave your heart and soul into every note you sing and every story you tell. And from your beginnings in Sydney to the international stage, your journey is a testament to the power of passion and perseverance.
Thank
With,
you.
with your talent and vision, there's no doubt you'll continue to inspire and enchant listeners worldwide. So, Amy, thank you for sharing your journey with us today. Your music and story are as vibrant and dynamic as you are. We can't wait to see what incredible melodies and moments you create next. Actually, I want to remind you about that cover you did, Levitating. That was pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah. That's a good one. I do like Dua Lipa's music too. I think a lot of her things at the moment is she's got a lot of samples that she'll use. So I prefer her older music, but yeah, that was a good one.
That's great, Amy. Okay, everyone, we're going to
Thank you
end
so
this
much.
stream, and yeah, you're very welcome. And it's I think it's the quarter to 12 there, I think, or
Yeah, quarter to 11 almost
quarter to 11. Oh,
in the
right, yeah,
morning.
that's right. You're wait, you're 15 hours ahead, I think. It's
Yeah,
8:47 p.m. here on a Friday night,
amazing.
and it's Saturday morning there, right?
It is. It's Easter Saturday. Yeah.
So can I get the lottery numbers if you don't mind?
I'll email them to you.
Yes,
Sneaky.
please. Okay, everyone, thank you. Everything will be linked down in the show notes, all her music, and that'll include her song. Will be down there with Julian Ransom's Jaker's song "Only Half the World" will be down there, and your single "Not Enough" with Daniel Belomo and Slap Maj, record producer. There you go.
So much, Chris. Appreciate it.